Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Eastin, I'd like to ask you about a proposed Army expansion in southern Colorado that was briefly mentioned earlier, Pinyon Canyon. Every private property rights advocate would agree that a landowner must be protected from unreasonable takings of their land against their will, as well as takings that do not provide just compensation. But the other side of the coin is that private property rights must also mean that landowners should be free to sell or lease their land to whomever they wish, including the United States military. From what I understand, some of the opponents of the Army's land expansion at Pinyon Canyon are not only opposed to condemnation of unwilling sellers, but they are also opposed even to willing sellers who voluntarily wish to sell or lease their land to the Army. Is that your understanding as well, Mr. Eastin?
I've seen reports of that, and I think a press release from what we call the opposition group down there indicates that they don't mind selling your land to whomever you like, as long as the Army isn't to whomever you like. I'm at a little bit of a loss to understand that. We have worked very hard in the Pinyon Canyon acquisition, where we're seeking to acquire a little less than 100,000 acres down there. We have bent over backwards to address every issue that the community has raised, that the opposition has raised, but still we run into that, and it's as if I don't want to point fingers down there, but they somehow have a deep mistrust for the Army, and they're afraid if we acquire the 100,000 acres, we'll be back next year for 100 more, or as I indicated before, 7 million. They have a campaign there that I'm not sure where it's heading, but I believe that we, the Army, have addressed all of their concerns, and we'd like to proceed with this.
Okay, just for the record, will the Army agree to buy or lease land at Pinyon Canyon only from willing sellers and not use property condemnation upon unwilling landowners?
I have said that the Army will purchase land from willing sellers. Let me be clear about this. The Army will not take land for Pinyon Canyon. It will not condemn land at Pinyon Canyon. It will buy only from willing sellers. And I don't know if we can get any more clear than that. I've had the pleasure of having a meeting down in Trinidad, Colorado, with the local concerned citizens over that. I stated that at that time, that is the Army position. We do not need to buy from unwilling sellers, but the only time condemnation will be used is if someone requests it for clearing title or as I understand it, tax purposes.
Okay, thank you. If the Army gets permission and funding from Congress to expand Pinyon Canyon, what benefits would the immediately surrounding communities receive?
The proposal we have made, we've been talking to several landowners there. The proposal we have made to the community, once again in public statements and in writing to the local community there, with the additional land, we will prepare we will construct a combined arms training center, which will require, and we have programmed for it, between $125 and $140 million in military construction on that Pinyon Canyon. Additionally, we will need people to operate that range. We have committed that we will hire upwards of 100 additional people that will live in the area, in the community, not on our installation, but in the community. They will buy houses or lease houses there. They'll have their cars repaired there. They'll probably up the volume at the local McDonald's and food stores, but they will live in the community and contribute economically to the community. Our estimates are for Las Animas County and for others that don't know, it's a relatively agrarian county with less economic going on there certainly than larger cities, but we anticipate that our contribution there would be about $9 million a year in salaries alone, which would be between 5% and 6% increase to the, if you will, gross national product of the county. So it's going to be a significant addition to the county, and I think it will help the Army meld into the community rather than, as some of the community members now think, we drive down from Carson City, tear up the land with our tanks, buy a few Cokes at the 7-Eleven, and go back up north. We don't want to do that anymore. We can understand how they get that idea, and we intend to correct that.
Appreciate your answers.